The joke writes itself.
Are you two getting back together?
Love Screen Rant. Thanks for having us here.
Oh, no, thank you guys. Well, all right. Rachel Furch here at San Diego Comic-Con at 2025. And I cannot even begin to explain how excited I am to be joined by the cast of NCIS, Tony and Ziva. Guys, we just got to talk about how incredible this is because, I mean, there was genuinely a time in the show just because Ziva was presumed dead. I know spoilers. She's here. She's here. She's got, guys, she's alive. But this didn't even feel possible. And I know you mentioned at the panel that this was manifested by the two of you. So how does it feel now that this is a reality?
We were talking about the manifestation. That sounds like infestation. But the manifesting.
It's an infestation of really good.
Yeah, it's a good infestation. That in a strange, almost kind of quantum way, the fans were the ones who really manifested it. And
they wanted it. And what we got was the feedback. Every time we traveled all over the world, what's going on? And Michael and I were like, there was real curiosity. And, want for something like this to happen. And of course, Michael and I wanted to work together. And we sort of talked about it. And then we got really lucky that this guy, was
you got to tell the story, right? You can't just. And the interesting part of the way that this show unfolds and comes out of that man's head is this sort of nonlinear approach to telling the story, which allows us not only to tell a ripping good yarn, but also go back through time and address a lot of the questions that Cody and I would get over the decade that has transpired.
What happened to them? Yeah. Where are they? How are they doing? Are they together? Are they raising this child? I mean, so many questions. And then we had to find somebody that was going to answer all of them.
I had a lot of help.
Well, then, John, because this is your first time working in the NCIS franchise, right?
Yes.
How does it feel to already have, obviously these incredible actors and this lovely, passionate fan base behind you supporting the show out of the gate?
It was terrifying. Michael and I were just talking about this at breakfast, actually, because he was asking me, did I feel a lot of pressure at first? And I said, yeah, the pressure to not disappoint was the baseline, and then the pressure to, can we kind of take it up a step? And I don't mean in terms of quality, because I think all the NCISs are very good, but in terms of, we were given a huge playing field in which I felt it was incumbent upon all of us to really dig into these characters and not just treat the backstory of Ziva's arrival in Paris in 2020 as a one-off, but to really step by step take the audience through, as we're watching a present-day thriller with tons of gunfights and chases, flashing back to domestic scenes of I'm gonna do this, Tony, and Tony's like, but I thought we were gonna do that, and you start to see the little cracks in this kind of wonderful on-again, off-again romance. I felt a lot of pressure, but also I had a lot of tools.
Yeah, well then, with this being, essentially the first time you guys have been Tony and Ziva in what, like 10 years together on screen. Obviously there is you've mentioned this too, that worry, can we get back what we had, that chemistry that you had in NCIS. Do you feel like you did, and how do you think the relationship between the characters has changed in this new series?
We're older. We have a child. So you're going to see a little bit of that passage of time, because I think as human beings, you evolve. I think you will see a little bit of that in both of us. But I think the fans, and really this show is like a love letter to our fans, We want to give them these characters, and we want to answer a lot of those questions. But I think, what do you have to say about it?
You, by the way, you don't age. You're just extraordinary. You're just
that's pressure, because that's gonna happen.
That is immortality.
I'm a vampire.
Exactly.
I'm more like a creamy cheese that has got some mold on the side of it, and you're like, do we throw it out?
By the way, the moldier the cheese, the better.
That is true. I have heard
the
that.
oldier, the moldier. Oh God,
oh, Michael.
There's a fungus among us. This is what I'm saying, which is that coming back.
It's too early.
It's too early. I know. I can't help it. The acid kicks in around 10 a.m. So it's just I'm on a wild ride. It's an orange blue sky for me all day long. That's why I wore the shirt. So when we started the first day, we hadn't worked together in a long time. To kind of address the curiosity about it. Everything, it's like a safe cracker. It's like you could just hear everything tumbling into place, and it just slid open. Everything was available to us. But there were all these new levels and nuances and new things that...
Including new characters, including new...
Yeah, and so the story that John and the writers created were evoking all these things. And then Cody and I are different humans in the sense that we've just a lot of water has gone under the bridge in real life, and so.
But there's a real yin yang thing, you know.
Yeah,
it's
who's yin?
We are. I have no idea.
Okay.
It's like the ham and cheese thing. It's like who's the ham, who's the cheese? I have no idea. But Michael and I could not be more different, and yet we can totally relate. If you leave us alone, we could talk for a long time. In fact, yesterday we were having an interview, and at one point, you know, Michael was like, oh my God, we've been talking for how long? And we just kind of kept on talking. So, yeah, there's a real friendship. There's a real trust thing that's been earned. I always say that, you know. At the beginning, when we met, it was not easy. You know, I was coming from a totally different world. He was coming from an equally different place. And
Yin yang.
But it's true. And then we kind of found this very interesting way of sort of playing. And we don't talk about the work, you know. I mean, on general terms, storylines, things like that, of course. But as far as like scenes and how they should go and how there's this whole thing about like surprise me, I'll surprise you, and kind of go with whatever we give each other. It's a tennis match in many ways. And I think that we got used to working that way. And we actually appreciate it, and we like working that way. And it's really wonderful when you find a partner that you could play with nicely, you know.
Nicely.
All right, here you go, Chuck. Take those nuggets of love.
That was very yang.
Now, obviously, there are huge changes when you go from a network show to a streaming series. John, I am curious, like, what did that allow you to do that maybe you wouldn't have been able to do if you were still on network television?
The first decision creatively that I made and then talked to Cody and Michael about, and then eventually, you know, talked to the studio about is I felt really strongly that it had to be a single serialized story rather than a case of the week. And the reason was not to be all fancy or, you know, peak TV, but these characters required, I felt, a constant mounting, rising pressure on them that would not be relieved. The thing about, well, I love mysteries. I love procedurals. And the thing is, at the end of a procedural, the relief, right? You've caught the murderer. The little girl's reunited with her parents, whatnot. What was fun about structuring this, and what the studio signed off on, and these guys were so game for, was the end of each episode is the opposite of relief. It is like, oh, that was good, and then a thing 10 times worse just hits them and we cut to black. And I just felt strongly that to really explore the relationship in a way that was would service both a thriller and a romance, it had to be one story. So, and luckily, I didn't get a lot of pushback on that. That was the biggest difference.
It's a partnership, a relationship that is constantly tested.
Yeah.
And within that test, there's growth. And instead of coming apart, they have to work together.
Yeah.
And within that working together, there's something sort of magical that happens. They begin to trust each other. But that all is sort of tracked and earned, you know, episode through episode. And then through that, there's the complexity of having to address these feelings that they had no idea would sort of resurface. And what do we do with them now?
Yeah.
And where are we now with them? And so it's all of that. It's really exploration of character. And I think all three of us were really, that's what we wanted more than anything, for these characters to really explore the relationship.
Yes, I think it's sort of like, what if Lars von Trier made NCIS? Or what if Krzysztof Kieslowski were still alive, and instead of Red, White, and Blue 2, he made NCIS? It does have like a, remember Decalogue? Wasn't that? Yeah. So
I'm the only one, but yes.
No, the Screen Rant people out there. But there's...
Or is Decalogue one of the Justice League? I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah. So I think that there was the streaming of it all versus the network procedural thing. There's, in my mind, it's kind of like DiNozzo's fantasy come true of being able to be in an action workplace comedy thriller
Romance.
techno
Romaction.
It sort of becomes a 40-act film. You know, it's like one massive story that you get to keep plugging back into. And as you watch these things, I was watching Dave the Jackal, and I just thought, you know, watching Eddie Redmayne make these kind of moves and all that, it's so much fun that we have this now. Although the BBC was doing it 45 years ago, they were doing, you know, what we now look at as like streaming. They perfected it.
Yes.
And I remember we talked a long time ago about, like, what if we made a 6-hour thing? And I believe it was
Berlin,
someone related to you, maybe maritally,
perhaps,
who said, it's impossible because you don't get your money through advertising and through the so we now live in a world where somehow because of the subscriptions and the whole financing model has changed. So we're telling different stories in different ways, and while the broadcast version still very successfully exists, this I couldn't have dreamt of 15
And this
years
is
ago.
something that we really wanted to do, and we wanted to do it in this particular way. So we had to wait a little bit because, as Michael said, the industry changed. So it was the perfect storm in many ways. Like, it happened when it had to happen, and all of the elements came together, and we were all free and willing and excited, and then we got the green light and we just went for it.
It's also pure kismet that on the mothership, NCIS, we know that you both ended up in Paris with your daughter.
Sure.
Yes.
So it really helped me pitch CBS and studios and Paramount Plus and say, well, we have to shoot in Europe. I mean, that's where they live. That's where they are. And all of a sudden, anytime you're going to shoot in exotic foreign locations that are absolutely gorgeous with completely different cultures, you just draft off of that. You start to build story and character off of not only who they are, but where they are and how the environment's affecting them. And that's also, I think, what gives the show its scope. It has a really, really wide lens feel to it.
Yeah, well then, okay, going back to what you guys were saying earlier about the episode by episode and how that's, like broadcast format, I am really curious because obviously Ziva is known for being this big, like, slow burn, will they, won't they ship. When you were filming, did you want them to get together, or did you like that it was kind of teasing the audience for those years?
Both.
I think I like the slow burn, and I love the idea that Michael's referred to these two characters as star-crossed lovers.
Ooh,
It's sort of like they always want to, and something always happens, and things get complicated, and it can't work. There's one thing that I told Michael. I said, I'm not interested in telling the story is if in the end there is not like some sort of happy something. Because I think they deserve but before we get to that, we have to earn it. So we're going to see them go through a lot of stuff.
Now, I also have a hypothetical question. If Gibbs were to ever show up in Paris, how do you think he would react to everything that Tony and Ziva are up to?
He'd have them arrested. Because they're fugitives.
I think he'd ask Tony, where's the basement? And I'd say, oh yeah, we live in an apartment, there's no basement. And he'd say, then how do you build a boat? And I'd say, I'm sorry, boss, I'm not building a boat. He goes, yeah, I can't be here. And then he'd just leave. Oh, what do you think?
I think we'd talk about it for some weird reason. I think there would be like a conversation.
You'd have a more successful connection.
Probably. I don't know. But I think there would be like a conversation. And I think if I were to say, hey, I need your help, I think he would try to find a way where he could legally help me, even though most of the stuff that's going on is,
I
you
feel
know,
like
he
I'd
wouldn't
walk
have.
into the living room and he'd be teaching Tali how to do a correct head slap. And I'd be like, no, that's not how we solve problems now. The
That's
culture
it.
has shifted. We don't do, corporal punishment in the workplace. Let's not do that.
Breathe.
Deep breath. Ah, I did it to myself. See that?
Well, then let's talk about Tali, because obviously huge new addition to the show.
Big.
Which parent would you say she's the most similar to?
Ziva. Well, I mean,
Okay.
yes.
Well, there's a lot of kick-ass in her, and the character of Tali was played beautiful by a lovely actress named Isla.
and Olivia Brody.
Sure.
So it's two actresses playing her in two different timelines.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But I think we concentrate more on
Yeah,
the older
on present day.
Right.
And
Yes.
technically, in the very first episode, when we do the saga cell, you see even the first Tali.
Yes.
So there's three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
okay.
girl from
Three
the
Talis.
mothership. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be interesting to have three Denozos? That'd create some time off for me.
Oh God.
I don't want that.
I would cast them. What?
Easy does it.
No. She's terrific. In fact, I think we've told the story a couple of times, but we had a fight sequence in the first episode, and I could see that she was so incredibly, fixated, and she was just watching everything, and she was really into it. And at one point throughout the season, she said, "Is it okay if I do my own stunts?" And we said, "There's no way that you're going to do your own stunts." She comes from a background of gymnastics, so she's like a top-notch gymnast, and she's really kind of kick-ass. I mean, she could do a lot. She lives in her body, and she comes from the theater, so she was Matilda in Matilda, if I'm not mistaken, on the West End.
Yeah.
And so she's kind of fascinated by this world. She had these really interesting questions. We had, the first time we worked together, I think it was we were saying goodbye, first episode, and we had these very sort of emotional scenes, and I was saying goodbye, and then Michael was sort of saying goodbye, Tony was saying goodbye, and after everything she would come back and she would say things like, how can you get emotional on every take? Like she was, and I said, oh, this is a really interesting person, because she's really watching it with intense curiosity. She wants to learn. She's kind of tracking behavior, and so I, the whole physical thing of coming from a gymnastics background, that was very interesting. But then the idea that she's also sort of tracking performance and wanting to learn and asking all these questions was sort of fascinating to watch, because we were like, oh my God, thank you, thank you for sending us this being. I mean, she's sort of perfect for this show, and perfect as our daughter.
So we got lots of family scenes to look forward to.
Oh yes,
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm
family
excited.
dynamics. You get to see how this guy's, a very loving, nurturing, funny dad, but also, very, very caring, and there's real tension. Our child is big part of the story. We have to protect our child, and that's the reason why we're working together, to make sure that our child is 100% safe.
Yeah, Michael, what's it been like to play Tony as a dad? Because, I mean, that obviously wasn't something you had to really do in the original.
No, and I think even more importantly, there were episodes, and one particular episode where we showed that Tony is afraid of two things in life. In one episode named Chimera, which was around episode 100.
Chimera, wow.
Yeah. We know that Tony's
The
afraid
orange
of
shirts.
rats. He's afraid of rats. And he's afraid of children. And we learned that there's another, because of his own childhood, and he just won't relate to children on the mothership and in those episodes. So I think and because we know his father, and we see that was not a great modeling that went on for him. So when we meet him with this child, and we see the journey that he's gone on, it actually affects and speaks directly to his relationship with Ziva, because she didn't watch the 4 years that she wasn't there. And so he's kind of gone on this journey and learned all these things about himself, and but she still sees him as the person. It's like going back to a college reunion or something, and you still think that that's your roommate from 1995 or something. And so there's the imbalances of growth that each of the characters is going through is part of the joy of the show, because we're catching up with them as they catch up with each other.
And we're sort of also catching up with each other and sort of, I think, suppressing things because we don't want to deal with the complexity of whatever that is, And no matter what, we have to make this parenting thing work because this child is our life.
And she makes him a better dad. Isla played Tali in such a way that she made parenting. She showed you the kind of dad that Tony became, but he became that dad because Tali kind of said, "Here's what I need," and because it's like she's a little Ziva. So I don't know. It's a rich potpourri. It fills the room with wonderful smells.
But by the way, she's a tough cookie, and she's kick-ass. So if you need like a little summary of who, Tali really is, she's kick-ass and she's a tough cookie.
And she knows movies.
Yeah.
Yes,
Just
she
like her
does.
parents.
Just like her dad.
She gets the movie references.
Now, I am curious, what are the hopes for the series? I mean, did you want this to be like, a limited, just like tell the story in kind of a contained one season, or is the hope to maybe, continue this for longer?
We never talk about the future.
That's fair, valid.
The future is unknown.
We can tell you one thing. Season
what's
1
that?
was so much fun.
Oh, that's so true.
And it was a dream come true for us. So we can talk about season 1 and we can tell you how much we enjoyed it.
Although I like the message on her hat.
Oh, Diva forever.
Okay.
Good one,
That's a wish and a good one.
Well, lastly, are there any final thoughts you guys would like to say to the fans ahead of this premiere? A couple months coming soon.
Well, is that the camera? That's the one?
the camera,
so
yes.
This show is for you.
Yes. And I would say if you need to build a little sort of, because you're going to sit down, you might be binging, and that's okay. There's no judgment in the binging. But you're going to probably want to bring a box of tissues. I would bring an extra pair of underwear just in case, because you just don't know. I'm not saying you need to go astronaut diaper on this, but you can. I would bring maybe some Visine. Your eyes might get tired. For those of you who enjoy gummies, I'd save that for the second viewing because there's a lot going on. You don't want to get too confused. But maybe a gummy around episode 3 isn't a bad idea.
Fairy tale.
Yeah.
You've used that word before.
Fairy tale. Yeah, it's
a fairy tale.
And just be prepared. It's 10 episodes long, but since you're probably going to watch each one 5 times, it's really 50 episodes. So I'm just saying.
It plays like one long movie.
Yeah, it's just prepare. I'm just saying, maybe do some light viewing beforehand, and then,
I have a warning.
Okay.
Okay.
Trust no one.
Oh, yes.
All right. Now.
All right. Well, happy Comic-Con, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the comic. We're like a modern day Bonnie and Clyde with better snacks.